Welcome to Sakshi TV's special immigration show with attorney Mr. Chand Parvathaneni from Managing Attorney at law firm of Sim Parvathaneni and Brown. Please note that Sakshi TV now has 3 immigration shows every week. On Tuesday at 3 p.m. EST with attorney Ms. Sheila Murthy, Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. EST with attorney Prashanti Reddy in English, and on Friday at 6 p.m. EST with Banu Ilindra. Please tune in to ask your questions. If you are an immigration attorney and would like to join our special shows, please email us at usa@sakshi.com or call us at 866-725-7441. Before we begin the show, please note that the information provided on this show is not a legal advice and for general informational purposes only. Sakshi TV or its agents will not be responsible for use of information. If you need specific legal advice, please contact the attorney directly. Mr. Chan needs no introduction, but if you need consultation, please log on to spblawfirm.com for contact information. When you connect with them, don't forget to mention Sakshi TV. From beginning, the spblawfirm.com has put a wealth of free information and online tools in the hands of the immigrant community and for the benefit of US employers. The www.spblawfirm.com site provides you with the latest and cutting-edge information on US immigration law and policies explained in terms you do not have to be a lawyer to understand. So today's topic are recent immigration updates. We will continue the knowledge session along with the news and updates on the latest immigration followed by a Q&A. Before we get into the topic, you can call us on the numbers on the screen for questions related to immigration and also ask tips. Hello, Mr. Chand. Before we get onto this topic, do we have any latest immigration updates this week?
Hello, Shivani, and all the wonderful Sakshi viewers. Thanks for joining. We have some minor updates. The major one is the April Visa Bulletin. It was just released this week. And it's a bit of a good news to the Indians, whoever is on EB2 category. The EB2 category has moved further. The EB2 category, the final action date has moved by about 3 months. Now it is at July 2013. That is really good news for anybody who's waiting for the date to be current. And the other bigger news is that the second chart, the filing chart, the dates for the filing chart moved up by 1 year. So that's very good advancement, very good progress. So now anybody with a priority date 2014 September or earlier, they are eligible to file their 485s. So everybody should take advantage of being able to file the 485, and they should get their packets ready. Another major event in the employment-based immigration is that the H1b registration process, and this is for somebody who's trying to get on H1b for the first time. So the H1b registration process is currently underway, and the process is just about to end, and we will have the lottery very soon after the registration process is over. So anybody who's trying to get on H1b and come and work in US, now is the time to apply. It's just about to finish in a day.
Yes, Mr. Chand. So, Mr. Chand, this week, as we all know that the H1b registrations for lottery are being done, when is the lottery process ending this month? And when will the lottery results come out?
Yeah, so currently the registration process is underway. So anybody who's trying to register for H1Bs for their employees, the employers are able to register right now. And right now, the deadline is tomorrow, so which is very, very close. The deadline is tomorrow, March 18th at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And after tomorrow, first-time H1B aspirants will have to wait again until 1 more year, which is next March. And what that means is there is not much time, and most of the employers probably already wrapped up their registrations. They already paid the $10 fee and registered. And now it's a time where we are just going to wait for the lottery results to be over and the selections to be announced. According to USCIS, the max is March 31st. So they should have these selections out anytime before end of this month.
Yes. So, Mr. Chand, is the H1B lottery based on salary being paid to the employees, or are there any other criteria for it?
So currently, this is just a random lottery. And even if the beneficiary that is entered, any beneficiary that is entered into this registration process, what happens is they get a random and a unique code assigned. And it's just a random lottery. There was a talk last year under the previous administration that they do want to use wages, the salary being given to these employees as a criteria for the selections. However, they decided not to do that. And what that means is it is just a random lottery. And the process for that is there are two lotteries. So initially, they will pick 20,000 selections under the master's quota. So anybody that has a US master's from a qualified university, they will be picked up in the lottery. And there are 20,000 slots per master's quota. Once the master's quota is selected, there are 65,000 regular slots open. And then there will be a second lottery where they select people under the regular quota. So overall, there are 85,000 slots, and USCIS will make a random selection. And that should be done before the end of this month, and the employers will be notified of the selections.
Yes. Mr. Chand, do you have any final suggestions for the people to check before the H1b registration process, which ends tomorrow on March 18th?
Yeah, it is very close to the H1b registration process because it is just about to end in a day. And at this point, employers hopefully have already submitted and they paid the $10 fee for each employee they're registering. At this point of time, the employers, whoever has paid, the check that they should be doing at this point of time is make sure they log into the My USCIS portal and see the names in submitted status. So if somebody submitted, what happens is it will show the status as submitted. It will also show a unique code. And at this point of time, the employers have to ensure that they're able to see that unique code and see the appropriate status. If it says it's in progress, it means they have not submitted the registration yet. And the other main thing that the employers or the attorneys should be looking for at this point of time is to ensure that there are no accidental duplicates. It's very, very important that a person is not entered twice in the lottery by the same employer. So now is a good time to make sure in a hurry or in a rush that somebody has not been entered twice in the lottery. So just the last minute checks are just go back into the portal, look through all the names, make sure the count matches, make sure there is no duplicate. And also, now is the time, if anybody needs to be deleted, now is the time to delete them, because after tomorrow, 12 noon EST, the system will lock up. And what that means is one cannot make any edits, one cannot delete any beneficiary from the system. So if the employers decide to delete somebody or there is a change in plan, now is the time to do it, because once the system is locked, USCIS will assume that that's a genuine and a bona fide job that has been registered. So the employers will have the burden to prove that whatever registrations they've done are bona fide and for genuine jobs. So it is highly critical that the employers do go back, look at their portals. If anybody is not required, or if there is any position which is based on speculation, speculative employment, they have to make sure that they go ahead and delete those registrations.
Yes. So, Mr. Chand, what should one do once they are selected in the H1b lottery?
So, from an employee perspective, they should immediately reach out to their employers, because the employees have to provide a couple of documents that are required for the filing. So, it is highly critical that the employees reach out to their employers, provide their educational documents, passport copies, sometimes the latest pay statements, and in a few cases, probably their experience letters. So all of these have to be collected and provided to the employers, and the employees have to push their employers to ensure that they don't wait until the last minute, but immediately complete the filings. And that's highly important. From an employer perspective, the employer has to make sure they gather all the documents from the employee, make sure they gather the documents that show the nature of the work assignment, the job title, the work location, and so on. And they should begin the process and start to the next steps. They should also make sure that the offer letters are ready. They should ensure that the offer letters are given to the employees and the offer letters are signed by the employees. The H1b petitions, it's very important that offer letters are produced as a part of the filing. So it's very important that the employer and the employee work together, make sure all these documents are in order, and not really wait until the last minute. So the last minute is basically June 30th. So don't wait until the last minute, but get things done well ahead of time. So last year we had a number of issues where at the last minute FedEx lost some packages, or USCIS lost some packages, were not able to track it, and so on. But if things get done well ahead of time, if there is an issue, there are ways to resend the package and then get things back on time. So the summary is that everybody, employers, employee probably have to work with an attorney, make sure everybody are working together, get the filing done well ahead of time. Then that's something what the new H1b applicants would have to do.
Yes. Mr. Chand, what should one do if they are not selected in the lottery? What kind of other options do they have?
So unfortunately, every year, due to the demand for the H1b visas, it always happens that a number of people do not get picked up in the lottery. And unfortunately, very, very good employees, very highly talented employees sometimes don't get picked up in the lottery. These are people who probably have master's degrees from very good universities, who have jobs from very, very good companies like Microsoft, Google, uh, or they're probably working in India in some reputable companies. So even if somebody is highly qualified, unfortunately, sometimes because this is a random process, a random selection, there always are people who are not selected in the lottery. So again, the good thing, at least what we are seeing last year and what we have seen the year before that, is that USCIS is trying to fill up all the slots. So there are 85,000 slots, and USCIS is trying to fill up all the slots. So last year we had the second lottery. We also had the third lottery. The year prior to that, we had the second lottery. And what that means is, in the first lottery, if there are companies, if there are employers who are not utilizing their selections, if they're not filing up, those slots are again filled up by USCIS through a second lottery. So look out for the second lottery selection, which probably would happen in the month of July. It happened in July last year. It happened in August the prior year. So more than likely by end of July, there will be a second lottery. So whoever are not selected, there are still a bit of chance. There is still hope. So wait until the second lottery and see if you get selected in the second lottery. That is one part. And the other part, say you don't get selected in any lottery. What do? If somebody is in US, they can continue to stay in US as long as they maintain status. And what that means is, if somebody is a student, they can continue to stay in US as long as they maintain their status. So if somebody is continuing their education, staying on F1 visa, they can stay back in the country and they can again apply next year. Or some people, they have work authorization either through their school CPT program or through the OPT program. So if somebody has a valid and authorized OPT or CPT, they can continue to stay in United States and continue to work by making sure that they don't violate their visa requirements. So if somebody is on F1 status, they're supposed to go to school and take classes. So as long as they're doing it, they are complying with their visa program, they can still stay back in the country and try their luck next year. And if somebody is in India or abroad, so if their company has an office in India and office in US, they can probably explore the L1 route. So L1 is another option that many people explore. So L1 is another route. Or the worst case scenario is that they have to wait until next March. So high level, look out for the second lottery if at all things repeat like what they have happened last year or the year before that. Or if somebody is in US, just make sure if you're on another visa status, keep continuing to comply with your existing visa requirements.
Yes. So, Mr. Chan, how much does the new H1B filing cost once the lottery is over? And can employees be asked to pay for the H1B filing fee by the employers?
So this is another very, very important thing. Employees should never pay for the H1B petition. The employers cannot ask the employees to pay for the H1B petition. It is there are very, very strict rules against employers asking the employees to reimburse the H1B petition costs. That is very important. And that being said, there is only one exception. And the exception is that the H1B petition fees cannot be paid by the employee. But if there is something called premium processing, and for premium processing, there is a fee of $2,500. And what it does is, you pay the $2,500 fee, USCIS is supposed to get back with an adjudication in 15 days. So in general, if somebody wants a fast answer, there is a way to pay extra money and ask USCIS to approve your case in 15 days. So that premium processing fees can be requested from the employee. That is acceptable. But anything to do with the H1b petition, employer cannot ask the employee to pay. And that being said, the fees varies from 1,710 to 6,460. So it depends on size of the company, and it also depends on how many number of H1b employees a particular employer has. If a company is a very small company, less than 25, the fees is 1710. And if the company size is more than 25, typically the fees is 2,460. So this is the fees that gets paid to the government. And if the employee count, the count of the employees in a company is more than 50, and the company is heavily H1b dependent, more than 50% of the employees are on H1b status, then the company also has to pay a $4,000 additional fee. So those companies will pay a very high fee of 6,460. So depending on the size of the company and how many number of H1b employees one has in their company, the fees would vary from 1710 to 6,460.
Yes. So, Mr. Chand, can you explain what are the actual steps involved in the filing of the new H1Bs once the lottery is over?
So after the lottery is over, now is the time where the employer has to do certain steps and then submit their petition to USCIS. So USCIS is the body that is responsible for adjudicating the H1B petitions. And it's a slightly complex process. It is not difficult, but it's a slightly complex process. There are a lot of regulations that need to be complied with. So normally the process starts off with employer submitting an application with Department of Labor. So this is called the LCA, Labor Condition Application. So the first step is the employer, either they filing it or them through their attorney, they will file something called a labor condition application. A labor condition application, what it does is, it is something that one is requesting Department of Labor and telling Department of Labor where their employee will work, what is the title, what is the salary that they're being paid, and those other details. And they will request the Department of Labor to certify this labor condition application. And once Department of Labor certifies this application, the employer has an obligation to pay that salary. So whatever is the salary that is certified on the LCA by Department of Labor, the employer has an obligation to pay that salary to the employee. They cannot pay anything less than that. Anything paid less than that LCA salary, it's a violation. That is very critical. So that is the step number one. The step number one is going to Department of Labor and figuring out what is the minimum that the employee has to be paid to even file the H1B petition. So that is the first step. So once LCA is done, the employer will know the minimum salary that they're supposed to pay the employee. So that is the completion of the first step. And now the second step is gathering the documents and getting the petition ready. It's called the H1B I-129 petition. So I-129 is the form number. So the I-129 form has to be filled out, and information about the employee, the information about the company, information about the job, where the employee will work, what is the salary that the employee will be paid, etc. So those are documented in the form I-129. So that is the next step. The next step is making sure the I-129 is drafted, everything is accurate, and it conforms to the LCA. And then attach all the supporting documents. So the supporting documents are documents like the passport, documents about the company, documents about the job, the work site, and so on. So it is documented, and then the filing has to be done with USCIS. And for this entire process, the company has 90 days, but typically if they start, it's about a 2 to 3 week process. So this is what needs to be done in the next 90 days. And gather the documents, and draft the I-129 petition, pay the appropriate fees, and submit it to USCIS. So that is what needs to be done once the lottery is over to get the H1B approved by USCIS.
Yes. Mr. Chand, we heard there were multiple lotteries last year for the H1Bs. Is it true, and what can we expect to see this year?
So we saw three lotteries last year, three different selections, and the year before that we only saw two. So ideally, in an ideal world, we should have only one lottery. So the employers do the registration. The registration is about to finish tomorrow for this year, and USCIS will pick up the selections. We'll do a lottery and we'll give out the selections. And once the selections are done, the employers are generally supposed to apply for everybody that is selected in the lottery. So in an ideal world, that is what we would expect. But normally, what happens is due to some reason, the employers do not apply, even if one of their employees is selected in the lottery for whatever reason. Maybe they have some valid business reasons. So at the end of June, if USCIS sees that everybody that has been selected in the lottery is not applying, and there are slots still open, so whoever has not applied, so what USCIS does is they will figure out how many people have not applied, and they will try to fill up those slots. They will try to fill up these slots by opening up selections again, and so in the colloquial language, we call it as the second lottery. So the second lottery happens, the selections are done, and now the USCIS gives the employers a second chance. So these are all new selections. So the old selections are done. Now it is time for the new selections. So the new people get a chance to apply. And in the second lottery, USCIS expects everybody that has been selected to apply. But if we look at what has happened last year, even after the second lottery, many employers have not applied for their employees. So the slots were still up in the air. They were still not filled up. So USCIS went with the third lottery. And after the third lottery, they stopped. They did not do a fourth lottery. So they stopped at the third lottery. So looking at what has happened historically, we could probably expect the same thing even this year, because more than likely for some practical reasons, some employers might not file the petitions even after the selections are over. And USCIS will try to utilize every slot, every H1b visa that is available by doing a second or a third lottery.
Yes. Mr. Chand, what is the current approval rate of the H1B filings? Are the H1B cases facing denial issues in large numbers like we used to hear 1 to 2 years back?
So in the recent times, we are seeing a lot of shortage in US. Because there is a lot of shortage in US, the US is in high demand for highly qualified employees. So H1B program is all about high quality, highly specialized employees. And I mean, in reality, what is happening is very, very highly talented people from India. They are coming to US and helping the US economy. And that is a clear fact of what is happening. And USCIS seems to be recognizing that. I mean, there is shortage. People are highly qualified. They're contributing to the economy. And USCIS, as a government agency, they have a responsibility to ensure that the best and the brightest come to United States. And what we are seeing is the denial rates have come down drastically. So right now, based on the latest data that USCIS gave out, there is only a 4% denial rate. So 96% of the cases were approved in the last year's filings. And what that means is, if an employee is qualified, if the company is legitimate, if the company has a genuine and a bona fide job position, more than likely, we are going to see the H1B case approved. At least that is what the statistics are saying based on what we are seeing in the last 1 year. We go 2 years, 3 years back, the denial rates were very, very high. We saw denial rates as high as 24% under the previous administration. But right now, the things are looking very good. The denial rate has come down. Anybody that is qualified and wanting to contribute to the economy, contribute to the specialty occupation, jobs in US, we are seeing a high rate of approvals, and we do expect to continue to see that for the rest of this year.
Yes. Mr. Chand, after the H1B or any immigration application is submitted to the USCIS, we routinely hear that the application has been issued on an RFE. What exactly is the RFE, and does issuance of the RFE by USCIS means that they are about to deny the case?
So the cap for registrations is coming to an end, and a lot of people will be filing H1B petitions in the next 3 months. Thousands and thousands of petitions will go out, And so this is what will happen once the employer applies for a H1b petition, or for that matter any petition or an application with USCIS. Typically two things could happen. One, USCIS is good with the documents, they approve the case, so they approve the H1. Or they're not satisfied, and what they will do is they will not deny the case. A direct denial doesn't happen. So what they will do is they will do something called issue an RFE. So RFE is a request for evidence. So RFE, request for evidence. So USCIS notifies the employer and tells them that they want additional evidence to approve the case. So all they're saying is provide this additional evidence, and if not, we will deny the case. So in general, the employer or their attorney, they have an obligation to provide the documents requested or argue their case within the deadline. So a deadline is set, and before the deadline, the documents are required to be submitted to USCIS and prove their case. RFE does not mean it's a denial, but it does mean that USCIS still needs some additional evidence to make a positive adjudication. So overall, I mean, the majority of the RFEs, after they get submitted, they result in an approval because in general, the cases are strong. However, one has to be cautious that they do follow the deadline and they do provide the documents that are required to prove the case. USCIS sometimes might be asking a whole bunch of documents. And however, you don't have to provide all the documents, but whatever documents are required to satisfy USCIS, to satisfy the burden of proof, they are supposed to be submitted. And that is what the employer has a responsibility, the employer or their attorney. So in general, people do submit on time. And in general, most of the RFEs do result in an approval. So RFE does not mean it's a denial. It just means that, hey, be cautious and do provide the documents on time.
Yes. Finally, just few minutes, Mr. Chan, can you give any final suggestions to the viewers watching the show?
Sure. So there are two important things happening this month. One, the dates did go forwards for many people in EB2 category. So for anybody in EB2 category, now is a good time to file the 485s if you have not already filed it in the past. And for the people who have already filed it in the past with EB3 category, now if your dates under EB2 are current, make sure you file it, you do interfiling, you request for transfer of underlying basis. It's very important to get green cards faster. And for potential H1b aspirants, now is the time to make sure your H1b registrations are done, and then you work closely with your employer to provide the documents on time and make sure you meet the deadlines and have a smooth process to get an H1b approval.
Yes. As usual, Mr. Chan, it was wonderful having you on our show. We covered many topics. Thank you to the viewers for tuning in. You're watching Sakshi TV with me, Shivani Raj.